And we're back for another episode of Standpoint. I'm Gabe Groisman, and this is a quick point episode on the debate. And we're going to talk about the debate on the debate, what people thought, what the responses have been, whether it was really an honest response from the media, and where we go from here. So everybody saw the debate for what it was. On one side, it was a debacle for President Joe Biden. He didn't have the ability to hide behind teleprompters or selective editing or being able to be on camera in the middle of the day. This was an evening debate, 90 minutes in front of the cameras and lights. And that's really what the American people wanted to see. They wanted to see the president, Joe Biden, in action. And they also wanted to see former President Donald Trump, see him in action without any filters, without a crowd. And we can start right there because the Democrats, Joe Biden's campaign, came in strong before the campaign and really pushed forward some things that we hadn't heard in a long time, which was they said, we'll debate you, Donald Trump, at this early stage, but we can't have a crowd. They need to control the microphones. Your microphone will be turned off when it's not your time to speak. All these things supposedly to rein in Donald Trump, but I think it really backfired if you think about it. From Donald Trump's perspective, without the energy of the room, without the excitement, he loves playing off of the crowd. He's almost like a stand-up comic, the way he senses the crowd and gives them what they want. We've seen it for many years, even when he reads off a teleprompter. He's reading off the teleprompter. It's eloquent, it's proper, it's prepared, and then he hears the crowd cheering and he'll turn away from the teleprompter and give all his Trumpisms, which sometimes is great and is exciting, and sometimes it's where he steps on himself a little bit by going off script. He didn't have any of that. He was able to be in control. He answered some of the most difficult questions in a very calm and proper way. Of course, both sides, according to CNN and others, there were questions on the veracity of things that Trump said, on the veracity of things that Biden said. That always happens in a debate, but all in all, the performance from Donald Trump was fantastic. I think it was very surprising actually to see, and it played well for him, how he did not, when they were doing a split screen, he didn't really make any faces at Joe Biden when Joe Biden was really just falling off a cliff with his responses. He just stayed looking poised and looking forward. Only once, if I'm not mistaken, did he answer by saying, "I'm not sure Biden knows what he's talking about there." I certainly don't know what he's talking about. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. But everybody was thinking that anyways. It wasn't even belittling. It was actually just seemed like an honest response, and that really played well. And let's actually jump in, since this is a quick. I think on Trump's performance, he really it's incredible to see, but he really seems like he listened to his advisors. He was well prepared, and everybody knows the most difficult issue for Republicans today politically is abortion. That's the most divisive issue if we're talking about independent voters in particular, or even more moderate Republican voters. I have the transcript here from the debate, and I think it's worth responding to. It's worth reviewing with you and just going through it and reading it out. Dana Bash asked the question, and she asks, and I'm quoting, "This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump," Dana Bash asked, "you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortions to the states." Trump responds, "Correct." Bash continues, "However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president," Dana Bash asked Donald Trump, "would you block abortion medication?" Trump's response was really a master class in politics on the most divisive issue for the election today for Republicans, or coming from the Republican side. And Trump responds, and I'm quoting, "First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill. And I agree with their decision to have done that. And I will not block it. And if you look at the whole question you're asking, a complex, but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody without exception, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everyone wanted it back, religious leaders. And what I did was put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something everyone wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many of this getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states, and I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, this is Trump again, and I'm quoting, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would have said the same thing. Texas is different. Florida's different. They're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states can control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in exceptions. I'm a person that believes, and frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But this is Donald Trump speaking, believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. He continues a little bit after that. But that response, again, is a master class in politics. Now, of course, the Democrats are gonna jump into where he says everybody agreed and everybody wanted to go to the states. Everyone knows when Donald Trump speaks, we know how he speaks already, where he'll fluff he'll fluff whatever he's trying to say. We're trying to say most, instead of saying most, he'll say all. So he said everybody instead of mostly everybody, or many wanted to get it back to the states. But in the substance, which is what people are really looking at, what did he say? Bash asked him about 2/3 of abortions that happen in this country using an abortion pill. The Democrats have been running with a statement saying Trump will ban all abortion pills. He says it clearly that he will not. He says, I will not block it. That's a quote. That's first of all. Then he goes into the exceptions, that he's someone like Ronald Reagan that believes in exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. He says it's very important. That's a quote from Donald Trump. Perfect response. And then he explains really the concept of federalism in the laboratories of democracy. He doesn't use that term, but he talks about how the states are working it out. That's a quote. And he says how Ohio and Kansas have a more liberal, and Florida and Iowa, Florida and Texas, he says, Iowa would fit in that as well, have it a lot more conservative. And each of them are making their own decisions. That is the defense. That is the position that I think is the best position for the president, for President Trump to take, and he took it. It's the most difficult issue for Republicans. If you talk to folks at the RNC at the last election, that's the issue that they think was the most difficult and that hurt Republicans the most. President Trump hit it out of the park with that response. But Joe Biden, across the board, everybody concluded, they couldn't conclude otherwise, that he had, quote, a bad debate. He did not do well. He looked like he wasn't there mentally. His acuity was not there. He frankly looked like he was too old to be on the stage, both when we saw him shuffling off the stage after the debate with his wife, Jill Biden, but also just during the debate, the way he handled himself, even separately from his responses. And it was how he responded. And then also what he looked like on a split screen when Trump was speaking, when he wasn't the one speaking. And it really was a scary thought to think that not just this is the president today, but that this could be the president in the next 4.5 years. And therein lies a little bit of the trickery that we're seeing from the media and from the Biden campaign. Because immediately after the debate, everybody in the media, even CNN, MSNBC, etc., all the way to Barack Obama, said Biden had a terrible debate. It was a bad night for Joe Biden. But it's not about having a bad debate. Everybody can have a bad night. I can have a bad podcast. I can say things and misspeak. People can misspeak, especially elected officials, people running for president of the United States. The most difficult job in the world, dealing with so many complex issues, dealing with so many actors. People can have bad nights. This was not about having a bad night. The Biden campaign is now speaking about how they're going to have all these different events and town halls to try to get him out there to sort of show that it was just a bad night. It's not going to work because it's not about having a bad night. It's about his mental acuity, about his age, about whether or not he can really move forward as president of the United States. And that's really the question. Now, if we turn to the polls that we've had ever since the debate, they just started coming out. That's the good thing about not having done an episode in a few days since I was on the road. We know that elections these days are very tight, and much of elections are decided based on voter turnout in the United States, especially when we're talking about swing states. So voter turnout, one of the main elements of voter turnout is excitement. Are you going to stop what you're doing to go to the polls and vote? Everybody has a job and they have kids and they have responsibilities, or mostly everybody. And people have to go out and make an effort to vote, not just on election day, but there's early voting in states like Florida and across the country. There's mail-in voting in many places as well. It still takes time. You still have to want to do it. You still have to want to do it. You still need to have excitement. That's why people look at excitement polls. USA Today put one out at the end of the month. It was Suffolk University with USA Today. And the excitement numbers are dismal for Joe Biden. The very excited candidate. How excited are you about voting for your candidate? Biden voters, this is just amongst Biden voters, only 29% of Biden voters are very excited. Only 29% are very excited. Just by contrast, Trump voters in the same poll, 59% of Trump voters are very excited to go out and vote for him. Those numbers are going to continue to grow for Donald Trump, and they're going to continue to shrink for Joe Biden. People are clearly not excited to go vote for him. And it's not just about policy. We're talking about Biden voters who may be happy with his policies. They may like the open borders. They may think that's okay and that's good for America. They may think the economy is not his fault, that the wars around the world are not his fault. Many people think that way. And those people, and that's who was polled for this important poll by Suffolk University and USA Today that just came out, only 29% of them are very excited to vote for Joe Biden. And I'll note, and I don't have the number in front of me, but of course, there's always the straw poll at the end or the push poll at the end of a debate for people to say who they think won the debate. People aren't talking about it much, this debate, because it was obvious. If I'm not mistaken, it was about 30 to 35% of people watching thought Biden won the debate. We know that those are the people that are not thinking clearly. Those people have drank the Kool-Aid. And for them to say that Biden won that debate, they're really just going to say Biden won the debate no matter what. Now look at that. If you cross-reference that with the 29% of people who are very excited to vote for Joe Biden, those are the same people versus, again, 59% of people very excited to vote for Donald Trump. Now, if we look at some of the other polls here, they're really showing the same thing. So if you go to 538 polls, 538 polls is if you ask me, probably the best website, Project 538, with that you can find all the polling figures, all the big polling figures on what's going on the relevant issues. And these days, it's important to look at them. Now, I'll say that one poll by itself doesn't tell you anything. You have to look at these polls and you have to look at the trends on the polls. And 538 does that. They provide that as well. The disapproval rating, the blended disapproval rating of Joe Biden today in the How Popular is Joe Biden section of 538, it's 56.5%. 56.5% of Joe Biden voters disapprove of him. Now, if you look at the Harvard-Harris poll that just came out, it's 62% of respondents disapprove. I'm sorry, 62%. Look at this. This is incredible. Everybody knows that Congress has the worst approval ratings in politics. It's just how it is. Some of it's deserved, some not. 62% of respondents to this poll disapprove of Congress. And that's why it's there. It's there so you can use it as a marker. 62% disapprove of Congress. In the same poll, same number of respondents, 2,090 respondents, 57% disapprove of Joe Biden. 57 versus 62% from Congress. I mean, that's a tremendous number to overcome. This debate, which is something that all Americans were asking for. We asked for it early. A lot of people were asking questions why it was done early, whether that was strategic by the Democratic Party to see if they can push Joe Biden out. It's possible. It's impossible to know. But really, the world needed to know. The country needed to know. And from this point on, we must hold everyone accountable to at least be honest. If you're voting for Joe Biden, you're voting for Kamala Harris or whoever his vice presidential candidate is going to be. From where I sit, it's going to be Kamala Harris. There's no scenario where they can switch her out. The main issues in this election are going to be economy, the border or immigration, and then just global stability. So the economy, the border, and global stability. We're seeing riots on the streets here. We're seeing wars broken out all over the world. American troops being attacked by the Houthis all over the world. Today, all American embassies around the world are on the highest alert that they've been in many, many years. Those are the main issues. But guys, those were the main issues before the debate. The new issue is going to be whether or not those who want to vote for Joe Biden, and that's about half the country, whether they're still going to vote for Joe Biden, seeing what they saw on this debate. They can't unsee that. It's not just going to be one debate. That's going to be the narrative throughout. A vote for Biden is going to be a vote for Kamala Harris, and or a vote for the deep state, which is a term that I really hate, but it's really the reality these days. We know that it can't be Joe Biden dealing with all the complexities of the issues, that a president needs to deal with today. We know that's only going to get worse because that's just the way the laws of nature work. And that's going to be the new issue, the main issue, I think, beyond border security, beyond economy, and beyond global stability. I hope that we see another debate. Many people are saying that Trump shouldn't debate again. They should say that it's elder abuse to debate Biden again. I disagree. We need to get Biden and Trump in front of a camera again and again and again, so voters can make the right decision in November. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week.